So the organized labor are talking tough. Tough in the sense that there has been several hikes with nothing to cushion for the effect of these hikes. From day one, says President Tinubu took over office on May 29, 2023. From that very moment, he announced that fuel subsidies gone, everything started going up. I mean, it's just the consequences of, removing fuel subsidy. It will affect virtually everything from transportation to food to virtually everything. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about these hikes and how the labor union may go about, reacting to these latest hikes. We have a guest in the studio, Chukwuemeka Edwin Ohiekwiro. He is a former PRO, Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals. Good to have you. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
How do you do?
Very good. Very good.
I mean, you're the former PRO, so you should have a proper knowledge of all of what's going on around us, especially as it concerns the hike. Are you satisfied with the way and manner that the labor union have reacted so far to the hikes, especially with the recent one of 50% by the telecom operators?
Yes, I appreciate what the organized labor is doing, though it is belated, because a lot of damage has been caused to Nigerians, not just the workers, by this series of hikes. Because we're living in a country and we are not feeling like citizens. And you see, from the onset, when the president assumed office on May 29th, that his pronouncement has caused a ripple effect that has not ended up till now. Because you know where we were before, okay? We thought we have reached the bottom of the pit. But when the president took over, and with all so many enticing things that will come when you remove fuel subsidy, we're not seeing any. And the president is cruising to 2 years in office. So the suffering is becoming very hot on citizens. Worst especially is workers. Workers can not afford basic needs. We are moved from 30,000 naira minimum wage to 70,000 naira minimum wage. Many people are considering it as 100%, but that is not what it is. It is just the minimum, the basic, the people that are the least person in the service. The president says, okay, you will no longer take 30,000 home, you can take 70,000. But the consequential adjustment makes no impact. For instance, the workers in the health sector, what they got, because they don't have anybody at that level again in the health sector, what they got was 33,000 naira across board.
For those who...
For those in the consequential, 33,000 naira across board.
Just 33,000 naira?
33,000 naira across board is a public information. You can investigate that. Across board. So what it means is that if you're in the health sector and you were earning 150,000 naira, the consequential adjustment of the president's pronouncement that 30,000 naira minimum wage is abolished is now 70,000 naira. What you're now earning is 183,000.
Wow.
So that is what it is. And that has been what you are supposed to cushion the effect of fuel from 200 naira per liter to 1,250 naira, 1,000, before it came down to 1,000 and about 1,050 naira per liter. That is what you're talking about with the electricity tariff, that you've been pushed to band A and band B and the band C classes. And now the recent one is the telecommunication. Where do they want Nigerians to go to? How do they want us to survive? These are the official increments we are seeing. We're not talking about the foodstuff. We're not talking about the transport fare. We're not talking about the costs of health care. We're not even talking about the school fees, because every civil servant you see has many dependents, and most of them are in school. How are they going to survive? So what the labor unions are doing, very critical. And I said it's belated. Because it's belated because we could have done this long ago. But it is good that it started now, so that more lives will not go down the drain.
Yeah, again, looking at what they have done, I mean, the story was that they were deceived into accepting 70,000 naira. That they were offered 250,000. 250,000 naira was on the plate, but that the subsidy removal will happen. But they rejected it and said, okay, since there is a 70,000 naira somewhere that is on the table, things will not go up anymore. They accepted it. Don't you think that the leadership of this organized labor were wrong not to have accepted that 250,000 naira, given that we've seen successive government that hasn't been straightforward with the people?
You see, it wasn't as if they presented 250,000 naira. Labor insisted that they cannot go beyond 250,000 naira as minimum wage. With all the discussions, tripartite committee and the rest of them, they finally went to the president. And the agreement was, okay, the much we can do is 70,000 naira so that we don't cripple the economy. But with this 70,000 naira, be rest assured that there will not be any increments. If there is any increment that will happen, we'll get labor invited, discussed, and it will be a collective discussion so that we know where to cushion effects. But yes, labor accepted the 70,000 naira minimum wage based on those will I say agreements. Okay, it could be unwritten, but these things Labour accepted. You can trust government. But immediately Labour left, it was announced that Labour has accepted 70,000 naira minimum wage. Even without further implementation, we saw prices of fuel going up from 600 naira per litre to 1,200 something naira per litre. So you see that the increment that was made from 30,000 naira, 70,000 naira has already been taken from the back door. So cost of things, the cost of every commodity in Nigeria is dependent on the cost of petroleum.
Absolutely.
So once you increase the price of fuel, the price of commodities will increase. And also note that even a little decrease does not affect the already increased price of commodities in Nigeria. It is a known philosophy in Nigeria. So we are in a total suffering mood. Workers are not smiling.
But to be fair to the government, I mean, they say that these are the things that must happen for the deregulation of the downstream sector to happen. Even the other two governments or the other two people who participated in the presidential election also said they were going to remove subsidy. So it's still going to be the same thing. If at all there was a Peter Obi that won or Ms. Sarai Tuku that won, there was still going to be, we're still going to come back to this place to talk about these tariffs hikes. But the bigger question would be that, I mean, what is happening today is the negligence of a government, successive governments, not this one, but this one has said, look, I'm going to take this out and take it completely. So there is no government tomorrow that will come and say, we want to remove subsidy, because that's what happened. Every government that comes in speaks of subsidy on petrol, from Yaradua to Goodluck Jonathan to Buhari. They speak of subsidy. Someone comes and just takes it marginally up and then leaves it, marginally up and leaves it. We keep tinkering with it. But this one have said boldly, you know what, let's deregulate this and get it done with. So we could focus on other things that's got to do with development of the country. At least now, there's more monies for the government. Monies that have been shared across the states through FAC has been given. There has been increase in minimum wage at least. And then, you know, from now on, one could see that the development by the government is taking shape. Don't you guys think so?
See, you see, every government across the world has something it subsidizes for its citizens. Go to developed countries, go to America, go to France, go to Germany, go to Britain. Every country has something it subsidizes for its citizens, because even before development, your people must have to be alive to witness those developments. Okay? There was nothing so bad apart from the corruption which government was shying away from dealing with in the fuel subsidy. It is the corruption that government was shying away from, so they decided to kill the baby and the bathwater, throw away the baby and the bathwater together. But that's notwithstanding. But even if you want to remove fuel subsidy, you don't uproot somebody's teeth without giving the person some level of analgesics. There must be something you must have to do to cushion the effects of that you know that will cause sufferings to your people. It was so abrupt, and if you ask me, premature for the president to make that statement on day one of office. He could have assumed office and put all those safety valves that will ensure that life is sustained. You go to healthcare, you make sure that health insurance is working. You go to food, you make sure that you have so many supply of food, that even if you do this, that you have so many, there are so many things you could have done to ensure that when you finally pull out this fuel subsidy, or even a gradual pull out of fuel subsidy, that your people will not be subjected to abject poverty to the extent that they can no longer afford food. That is what we are saying. Go to hospitals and see what is happening. The cost of healthcare have eluded the grip of the common man. So where do you want him to go to? Cannot afford healthcare, and you don't have health insurance to protect him. Is that what you want? You want them to die? Go and check our rates. Go and check the death rates and the mortality rates and morbidity rates. They have all increased because of the pronouncements. So I am not against the removal of fuel subsidy, but I am against the way and manner the fuel subsidy was removed. There could have been some safety valves placed by government to ensure that when I finally pull out this, these are the cushioning effects. Our people will not suffer. It was after they have removed the fuel subsidy and they have made those pronouncements. They are talking about CNG. Where are you seeing CNG vehicles now? Okay, President said he will share CNG two buses to pay. What can he do? You know the number of people you're talking about, over 200 million people, if I'm still correct. Okay, so we are saying that government should have it as a priority to place the interests of the citizens in whatever they are doing. I might not blame the president so much, but because he's in Aso Rock, but he should have tentacles across the country. Aso Rock does not represent Nigeria. The majority of the Nigerian people are suffering. Go to the market now to buy meats. You cannot, 5,000 naira meat cannot do anything for you. And you're talking about a civil servant that you've increased his minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira. And I'm telling you that the consequential adjustment does not represent that 100% increase. So what can the person do? The person has 5 children in school. He has to pay their school fees. Public schools are not properly functional. The person has to feed the family. The person has to go to hospital. Oh, there are no cushioning effects. Okay, which other thing has government subsidized? Is it electricity? Having removed fuel subsidy, what else is government subsidizing? Tell me. Nothing. So what are we, you see, it's now a transactional thing. You're now dealing with your citizens as though they are customers that you are trying to profitize from. You're no longer trying to, the part of the social welfare we have with Nigeria is, with government, is to provide some of these social services for us, even at no cost. It doesn't mean anything. If you have health insurance that is working appropriately, then you'll be sure that you do not need to pay out of pocket when you're ill. So what are the safety valves? That is what Labour is saying. You cannot pull out these teeth without some analgesics in it. You must have to apply some analgesics so that when you're pulling out the teeth, you do not die out of pains.
I mean, over the years, many persons have said that we have run the country not like a private business. That the only way to run a country so as to make it profitable for its people, at least in the long run, is to run it like, you know, a private, you know, entity that is like business, running and making gains and then putting back those gains to the economy in terms of growing both roads, infrastructure, and the likes. You made some comments along those lines. I mean, isn't that what this government is doing?
No. You don't. It's just like, you know, when you come to hospital now, a public hospital, you say you want to run it like a private business. What are you doing then? Where is the social contract you have with your people?
Well, there are private hospitals.
There are private hospitals, and that's why there is a public hospital. So if you cannot afford private hospital, you go to the public hospital. So if you now turn that public hospital to a private hospital, where would the common man go? Yes. So if you see a public hospital, the major aim of the public hospital is to secure life and not to make profits. If you go to private hospital, you know that yes, whatever you're asked to pay, you pay it because you're looking for comfort, you know, and they're also trying to profitize from your ill health. Okay, but in the public hospital, they're not. The major essence is not to have profit. But if you now privatize everything, that is why Labour is against privatization. If you privatize anything, where would the common man go? You now bring monopolists, bourgeois, to come and feed on our common patrimony and make profit with it. And stop looking at us as citizens. They will now be looking at us as customers that they can profitize on. Okay? Look at what is happening in the energy sector. you go to energy, they say they are doing, what is it called? Estimated billing. Can you go to a petrol station now? Somebody will now put fuel for you and tell you that it's 50 liters without you seeing it. So you are estimated, you don't have a meter, you don't know what you're paying. Somebody comes at the end of the month and says you should pay this amount. If you don't pay, you disconnect your lights. These are things government should, there are some even that are just on policy grounds and enforcement. And government will have these citizens at heart. But the truth is that you cannot have the same people that are the operators of the economy still regulating it. It seems that government is the people doing the business and regulating it for themselves. So they don't want to kill their business. I'm telling you that is the gospel truth. Yes. Because we need to see government work for its citizens. And if government is working for its citizens, it is glaringly clear. The statistics will be clear. People will have food. People will have good health. People will have good water. People will have power to work with. And when you shut all these things down, you're also, affecting the GDP of the nation.
Speaking of the talk by Labour, we've seen several threats by Labour. I mean, recently, Labour hasn't really done anything. In fact, there is still a brewing issue. The minimum wage, that, like you mentioned, haven't been settled, because Labour is saying that now that you have finally removed fuel subsidy, the minimum wage cannot stand. You have to increase the minimum wage, and there are talks around that. And now we have a hike from telecoms. So many persons think that the Labour right now is not as biting. Like they're not holding the government accountable, to whatever it is that they have. The government have saved a lot of monies from the removal of fuel subsidy, and practically, like you said, we haven't seen any of those things play out in several other, sectors. So one would wonder, what is Labour really doing? In time past, as soon as this is happening, this announcement is made, they're on the street. As soon as this is happening, they are doing something, but this time around, especially NLC led by Ajo Ajero and the TUC, it does look like, government wakes up and does anything, increase this, increase that, and nothing happens. They just write on the front pages of newspaper, go on TV, go on radio and shout, and it ends there. Don't you think that the Labour also has a problem with the way and manner they are going about holding government accountable?
Well, everything has a methodology to follow it. Okay, I do not think that Labour is having a crack in its walls. Okay, Labour also, this country is a dynamic nation where you have so many things affecting policies and the rest of them, tribe, religion, and the rest of them, people, affiliations. But now Labour deals not just for workers. Labour works for the common man. Labour was very frank, when it was in politics, in policy making, in administration. Labour will always have their own voice, lend their own voice. Government is also trying as much as possible to, try and shut Labour down. Okay, but that will not work because Labour speaks for the common man. So what you see that is happening now is Labour is also lending its own voice by the means with which Labour works. Labour works by, yes, advocacy and the rest of them, but by the time it gets to the point where we are sure that government is adamant to the plight of its workers, then Labour will take to streets. Labour will shut down. What I'm guaranteeing you is that this particular Labour you're seeing will not keep quiet and watch Nigerians die in silence.
But the one that they have done doesn't look like they have, because again, there's still a pending issue about the minimum wage, and now we have the tariff hike for telecommunications. I mean, it does look like they're not doing anything.
You see, like you said, ab initio, you say that all the presidential aspirants said they were going to remove fuel subsidy. That is going to be so having increased that and having deceived Labour also decided to look and watch. Because you need to get your facts and get your evidences that this thing is not working. Just like I have told you, that this government is cruising to 2 years in office. But we are not yet seeing. He made this pronouncement from day one. He will not say that, he just made the pronouncement 1 year ago. He made this pronouncement from day one. So whatever we are seeing now is the number of years that this government has spent in office. So we are supposed to by now start seeing the positive effects of the fuel subsidy removed. You're talking about they are sharing more money to state governments and the rest of them. Has it translated to visible things? Has it translated to improve of life, expectancy of Nigerians. What has it translated to?
For Enugu, we're seeing the things that the governor is doing.
Yes, you want to drive me to Enugu? No
I'm
problem.
just saying,
Yes, yes, we are
you
seeing.
were asking that.
Yes,
how
the
money
government.
that's
Yes,
in-
the governor is doing so much things, and we are appreciating that what he's doing. But let us also know that what we expect the government to do is not to increase the taxes that are being paid by people, but to increase the tax nets. There are two different things. There are so many people that are not paying tax. Get them accommodated in the tax nets. It's not by ensuring that the people that have been paying are now paying times 3 or times 10, because the money to pay is no longer there.
Is that what is happening?
Of course, now
People are paying.
people are paying more taxes in Enugu now. Are you not aware? Go to the streets now and see what is happening. People are paying through their nose. But what we want is increase the tax net. Yes, we see the governor is working. We are okay. We applaud that. But let us, the citizens, also not be seen dying while developments are going on. Let the development be, infrastructure is being developed, and human capacity is also developed. Human well-being is also developed. We appreciate what the governor is doing. Yes, because there are so many other governors in other states where much money is coming in and people are not seeing development. But we are saying that the taxes should not be skyrocketed, and it is the citizens that are bearing the brunt.
But the argument was that sometimes some of these people, when they usually pay tax, they pay through third parties, and these monies don't even get to the government. And now there has been a harmonization of this tax.
If that is the case, then the people should not be complaining. If that is the case, yes, it is happening. For instance, myself, I got my mom admitted in Parkland Teaching Hospital, and Parkland Enugu State Teaching Hospital, and I applauded what was happening there. Every single thing you pay through point of sale machine, and so it is a streamlined collection payment. But if that is what is happening, then government will have collected more money without increasing the tax burden on the people. Because what it means is that what government must have done by that is to plug the leakages. But I'm saying that, yes, government has also plugged the leakages, but let the tax net be increased. Those that have not been paying tax, accommodate them. There are so many heavy people who are evading tax and nothing is happening. The common man that has been paying, the tricycle man that has been paying 200 naira should not be increased. The people that are, those little people should also be given some tax holiday so that their own business can thrive, so that they can also have breathing space to accommodate the hardship on them. That's what we're saying. Let the development be going on, pari passu with human capital development going on, and survival.
You see, another reason why the federal government is scared of even increasing the minimum wage is the fact that it might also affect inflation rate. Inflation rate is already off the roof, and just look at what's going on in the market. Imagine increasing minimum wage again by, say, another 100%. The market woman would want to have a share on what's actually really going on, with the increase. So I'm just wondering what Labour thinks, for you as someone who, play in that field, if Labour is not worried about that, if the federal government decides to do that, and secondly too, if, for instance, Labour is asked what is the proposal for a new minimum wage and how much would it be?
Let me inform you. What increases inflation in Nigeria is not increase in salary. It is increase in corruption. Yes, government is shying away from the real thing. You cannot tell me that when you increase salary of somebody who is already starving, that you increase inflation. No. What increases inflation is corruption. Those monies that have been retrieved from fuel subsidy that is now being shared, how is it monitored, the implementation? You want us to start calling names here? These are the issues. It is corruption that increases inflation, not increase in salary. So whenever government comes up with this old story, that it is when they increase salary of workers, I have told you what those salaries are dependent on. Every worker in Nigeria has more than 5 dependents. Every worker in Nigeria is expected to be in the workplace for 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. so he does not have a farm. Every worker in Nigeria does not have any other alternative business he does. He's focused on the business of government. I'm not talking about the pensioners that are not being paid. So are you telling me that when you increase these people's money for them to afford food in their family, that is increasing inflation? No. What is increasing inflation is corruption. You get a chairman of a local government today who does not even have a tricycle, in exiting office in the next 2 years, he has a mansion in Abuja. That is what causes inflation. You get a commissioner or a governor today who you know his background, you know his parentage, you know everything about him. By the time he comes out now, he has an estate in Banana Island. That is what causes inflation. Not the civil servant salary you increase from 30,000 to 100,000. Or labor is asking for 250,000. What does inflation does it increase? Those money are absorbed within the needs of the civil servant and his family. No civil servant. It is hard for you now to see a civil servant who can boast of a roof over his head after 35 years in service. Only the severance allowance of one government appointee can accommodate more than 30 workers' salary in 3 years. It is a verifiable issue. So when government comes with this old gist, that is when you increase salary, you increase inflation, it's wrong. What increases inflation in Nigeria is corruption. Block corruption and inflation will be stable.
So what for you is the proposal right now as it stands?
Well, it is not. It is not within.
No, for you, for instance, I mean, you are a government worker. Say, for instance, if you are to propose, how much would be minimum wage right now for Nigeria?
I can comfortably inform you that some of the minimum wage arrears of the 30,000 are still being owed. So I just want me to start talking about proposal. The one that has been increased, 30,000 to 70,000, the arrears are still being owed. Government has not paid.
Federal or states?
Both federal and states. Even states have not even done the consequential adjustments. You can then verify.
Enugu State hasn't done
it. Go and ask their government officials now whether they've done consequential adjustments. Yes, governors say that will pay this amount of minimum wage, but what of the consequential? The impact is on the consequential, and the majority of the workers are expecting the consequential, not the minimum. We know the percentage of people that are on the minimum, but what of the consequential adjustment? Has it been done?
Yeah, but I mean, these things takes time, and then when,
it shouldn't take time.
When they pay arrears.
It shouldn't take time. It's not rocket science. Why people are waiting for the arrears? They are dying. Their schools are out. Their children are out of school. These are not rocket science. These things are charts prepared. You know, it shouldn't take time. If anybody that is telling you that it's taking time, there is something else happening at the background. It shouldn't take time. It didn't take time for the president to pronounce removal of fuel subsidy. So why should it take time to cushion the effects of the fuel subsidy removal? The money is now available. The money you pay for fuel subsidy is now available, so why should it take time? It shouldn't. So these things are not rocket science. So when they say there is taking time, but you see other things going on. Okay, now let me also ask you, the government said we should fasten our seatbelts. Have you ever seen, tell me a governor in Nigeria that his convoy is less than 3 cars or 4 cars or 5 cars. See the fleet of cars going. Even with the current hike in fuel price, they are still driving so many fleets of cars in their convoy. So who is suffering? Who is paying? So our increase in salary does not cause inflation. What causes inflation in Nigeria is corruption.
All right, we're going to leave it there. I mean, this is also part of the reasons why many people just think that Labour is just a toothless bulldog. They're just, saying things, and they should. You're just mentioning that the consequential adjustment for Enugu State has not been done. Why is Labour not there here in Enugu State or other states that have not done the consequential adjustment and paying the real minimum wage? Why is Labour not?
No, you see, Labour does not only work in the television stations. Okay, I have told you that there is a methodology to these actions. You must have to start from first step 1, step 2, step 3 before you escalate the matter. So Labour is still working within the ambits of what they are supposed to do to ensure that these things are done. That is number 1. Number 2, Labour is not a toothless bulldog. Remember, it is not just Labour. It's not just Labour. Let all the work to get Nigeria working not be left on Labour alone. We have civil society organizations. We have other organizations. We have market women, and so everybody is bearing the brunt. So let nobody relax and say it is the duty of Labour. It's not just the duty of Labour, but Labour has not at any point in time reneged in its roles and responsibilities to Nigerian people.
Okay, let's leave it here. Chukwuemeka Edwin Ohiakwiro, I mean, he is former PRO of the Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals. I mean, basically passionate about what's going on in the country. I mean, everyone is feeling the pain. I'm also feeling the pain as well. But again, we need to discuss these issues, especially as it concerns the common man on the streets. I want to say a very big thank you, sir, for coming. Truly, really appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.